The Stone Mask is an ancient tool which brings out unknown power and an evil heart from within the brain. Along with this, it gifts its wearer immense strength, speed, and supernatural abilities. Though the trade-off for this is they become weak to the sun and require the blood of the living to survive. These creatures are referred to as vampires in the world of JoJo, and the only known way to combat them is of course either the sun or learning Sendo, a martial art which utilizes the natural life energy of the body and turns it into Hamon, also known as the Ripple. Though there is another thing in JoJo which uses a form of life-based energy as its power. This being the protagonist stand of Part 5, Gold Experience. So I was curious if you could use Gold Experience to fight vampires. So obviously, before we get too far into this, we'll need to try to understand or workshop how exactly both sides of this works. This way we can better determine if these two forces ever came in contact, how they would react from each other. Let's start first with life energy as a whole, and of course, Hamon. Hamon, or the Ripple, is energy created from Sendo, a martial art that utilizes a special breathing technique which creates a ripple through the body in its bloodstream that can then generate energy from one's internal essence. This energy mimics the ripple and energy given off by the rays of the sun, be it both positive or negative, and the ripple of energy created by Sendo is essentially life energy that is able to restore life to things, preserve one's youth and abilities for a much longer period of time, heal those in need, and of course, fight off the undead. This concept is based off of two different things. First, of course, Araki admitted that he drew inspiration for the ripple from the rules and psychic powers from Babel 2, one of his favorite manga, but of course, on top of all that, Sendo and the ripple are strikingly similar to Qigong, which isn't too out of the question given that Araki has admitted to practicing specific breathing methods when he works to calm his mind, which are very similar to the methods described in Qigong. And with that understood, let's move on to vampires. Now, vampires, as mentioned, are products of the mask, as once the mask pierces the skull, William Zappelli theorizes that there is unknown power being drawn out from the mask within the human brain, which is likely Araki referencing the old myth that humans only use a small percent of their brain when performing everyday activities, and we secretly have hidden potential within us all along. And William's hypothesis is partly true. It's backed up in Part 2 when we discovered that the stone mask was actually created to tap into the hidden potential of another race of beings, this being the Pillarmen. But since it was never able to crack their skull, it was never used efficiently. Though when used on a human, it worked perfectly, transforming them into vampires. And this transformation messed with their internal biology a bit. Now they were constantly using that internal life energy that you withdraw through Hamon all throughout their bodies, which granted them power such as super strength and super speed, but also allowed them to do things like shoot hyper-pressurized water out of their eyes and freeze anything they touch. But most importantly, they can inject their vampire essence into someone else and convert them into a zombie, which are the same creatures that have overwhelming strength and desire for human blood, but have none of the superpowers of a vampire. And because of this transformation, vampires and zombies can no longer benefit from the natural power of Hamon. They, for simplicity's sake, are essentially a constant, powerful ripple of energy that must consume other life forms from within to survive. Though, if another force of equal or greater strength came in contact with them, they would be unwound and destroyed, much like how two waves can cancel each other out. And one of the forces that is stronger than vampiric essence is that of the energy waves given off by the sun, which, as I mentioned before, are generated through Sendo, which is why the ripple is so effective against vampires. So, for life force to do damage or destroy vampires, it would need to come in a wave or ripple of energy to cancel out the vampiric essence's ripple, which leaves us to the life-giving ability of Gold Experience. Gold Experience is the stand of Giorno, and its major ability allows it to endow any non-living thing with life. This life force seems to come out in energy that surrounds a target and causes a metamorphosis which changes that target's whole physical makeup and turns it into a living thing. This can change the size of an object as well, though these changes only happen if Gold Experience strikes a non-living thing. When the life-giving ability hits a living thing, something completely different happens. When Gold Experience hits something that is already alive, this ability causes that creature to be overfilled with life energy, which greatly improves the creature's thought process, or supercharges its consciousness, allowing its thought process to take in information at such an accelerated speed that it can perceive everything else around it as moving in slow motion. This ability is called Life Shot, and how it seems to be represented visually is actually very similar to Hamon, as it sparks with crackling energy around the point of impact. Though, unlike Hamon, we don't exactly have an explanation for the shape of the energy itself or how the power flows into another target. But what we do have is an explanation from Joseph on stands themselves. As explained in the introduction to stands during the first ever stand battle that we see in the series, Joseph refers to stands as a physical manifestation of one's life energy, which is later stated to be controlled by their fighting spirit. With even the name stand in Japanese being comprised of the characters for Ghost Ripple, and the ripple in Ghost Ripple is spelled exactly the same as the ripple in the Hamon ripple, which, if my understanding is correct, stands come from a similar energy that we can use to create Hamon, with Giorno himself even admitting that life comes in clusters of energy. These clusters of energy seem to be the ripples created when we breathe, and when we breathe a certain way, we create Hamon, and maybe when someone breathes a specific other way, they can create a stand, which might be based on specific endurance, or the calling of the stand arrow, or many other factors that change how that life energy flows through the body. And much like how not everyone is cut out to be a stand user, not everyone was cut out to be a Hamon user as well. William Zappelli even explains that only 1 in 10,000 people have the capability of becoming a Hamon user, even though everyone can technically make Hamon. So it's not actually too out there to say that Hamon and stands come from a similar energy, but they aren't exactly the same energy. But I believe that yes, with this information, Gold Experience's life-giving ability would be as effective as Hamon when attacking a zombie or a vampire. In fact, I think with that explanation for stands as a whole, any energy-based attack from a stand would be as effective. As even though the stand's attack isn't mimicking the rays of the sun, it is a powerful ripple of energy nonetheless, which disrupts the own internal natural biology of a vampire, causing it to unwind just like Hamon. And in the case of a zombie, Gold Experience comes out on top in multiple ways, because zombies are dead bodies, and Giorno can convert those bodies into whatever he damn well pleases, because Gold Experience is shown to be able to manipulate a dead body as it is technically not alive, assumedly even with that vampiric essence running through it. Though things get rocky when we approach the Pillarmen, as Gold Experience may not actually be able to hurt them the same way it can hurt vampires, as Pillarmen aren't weak to ripples of energy. They're explicitly weak to the rays of the sun that Hamon can imitate. Thus, the ghost ripple of a stand would likely just be a regular attack to them, along with the fact that their bodies aren't undead, so Gold Experience couldn't change their shape either. Though this doesn't mean that they would be immune to the attack of the life shot, it would definitely leave them open to other forms of attack. I'm just saying that Gold Experience isn't an instant win against a Pillarman, neither are stands in general. Well, this was a fun little project that I really enjoyed working on. I actually like seeing JoJo from an in-universe perspective, and I hope you enjoyed watching it too. And if you did, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MediNotTheBadGuy. It really helps to support the channel if you go there and pledge a little bit, and if you want to reject your humanity, you can do so by buying a copy of Shimonetta, A Boring World Where the Concept of Dirty Jokes Doesn't Exist at buyshimonetta.com. Place that into a little Blu-ray player of your choice. Humanity officially rejected.